Hi everyone, I hope that you're ready for another little business session. So if you could please write down the date and as usual the title. So today we're going to carry on with more practice on break even. So all the operations that we have, the mathematical kind of part of business that we have been looking at since schools unfortunately have been shut. So we're going to carry on just doing a bit more practice on that, and I'm going to do a little tiny bit of revision, which you're probably really familiar with by now. So if you could just please start with this starting activity. So if you could just categorize which of these, okay, are fixed costs and which of these are variable costs. I know you're probably completely used to this by now and bored of this, but I just think it's always good to practice until you're absolutely able to do this with your eyes closed, okay? Categorizing fixed and variable costs. So if you could please just stop the video now for a second and complete this in your books. Thank you. So as per usual, I'm going to assume that you've done that, and the answers would be the following. The only one that I think might have been a slightly bit confusing for you guys is this one here. So of course for fixed costs we've got rent, advertising, interest payments and loans, and managers' salaries. I mean, you know this because we've also written all this down in previous notes, so we've had all these examples before. And then we've got variable costs, so we've got electricity costs, heating bills, raw materials, and then I put this maintenance of machinery. Now, why did I put it here in the variable costs? Because if you think about it, the more you produce something, okay, so the more output a business is able to produce, the more machinery will start kind of being a bit more malfunctioning or getting ruined and so on, okay? So the maintenance of machinery is going to be a variable cost, if that makes sense, because we are going to have to constantly adjust the machinery as we produce more and more products. So that's why it's here. I hope that you'll remember that, but sorry, oops. But it's always good to kind of know the justification for that. So if you're able again in an exam or in your coursework to explain that the reason for this is because you believe that the more you use machinery, the more you produce, okay, the more the machinery might need adjusting, then that's why you put it in the variable kind of category, variable cost category, because you are thinking of it as something that depends on production. Okay, so as long as you make that clear, you're justifying it, you're fine. Okay, so sales revenue, again, something you're now familiar with. I've just wanted to do a tiny bit of revision here. So firms get money from selling their products, and the money that they get from selling these products is called sales revenue. Okay, so break even. Break even is the point where sales are exactly the same as costs. Please do not get confused with losses or profits. Break even is the point in which we have the same number of sales as the number of costs. Okay, now three key formulas that you are absolutely aware of by now. The formula for getting the total cost is fixed costs plus variable costs. The formula for the sales to calculate sales revenue is selling price of our product times the number of units sold. Okay, so if we've got, I don't know, if we're trying to find out our sales from selling, I don't know, what was the example I made? So if I was to make so many pizzas and sell them in my streets, then I would be selling each of my pizza, let's say, for €3, okay? And my sales revenue would be the €3 I've set the price for my pizzas at, times the number of pizza I'm selling them at, obviously, because it's very intuitive. And finally, we've got profits, which is sales revenue, okay, minus the total cost. So this thing here minus this thing here, okay? So the difference between profit and sale and revenues is that basically the profit takes into account all of the stuff I need to, all of the ingredients and all of the costs I need to pay in order to sell those pizzas, okay? So I have to consider the things, so the money that I've made, but then I have to take away from that all the costs from mozzarella, tomato sauce, the heating I use from the oven, and so on, okay? So that is what the profit stands for. It's something that calculates basically what remains in your account once you deduct all the things you had to pay for, okay? Oh, sorry. So for today, all you need to do is these two activities. I mean, I'm going to give you until Friday to do them, okay? And you're going to have to just submit them on Friday, let's say by 1 p.m. And so I'm just going to go through these quickly. On Friday, I'm going to post a video explaining the answers, or giving you the answers. I have to think about that, because I'm thinking of just giving you the answers and then maybe asking you guys if you want to ask me any questions to join a webinar. I think that would be best. Okay, I think I'm going to do that. Anyway, I want you to still have a go at this. So basically, here you just have to fill in the table with the correct answer. Okay, so we know that fixed costs, okay, are £40,000, and we know that variable costs are £20 per cricket bat. Okay, so we're trying to calculate something about cricket bats, and the total cost is calculated by obviously doing fixed cost plus variable cost. Sales revenue is calculated by doing by finding the selling price, which is 35, times the output, which is just a number. It's just another way of saying the number of products sold. And you just have to basically fill in this table. Should not be that complicated. So yeah, please submit that by 1 p.m. on Friday. Okay, then the second one is slightly trickier. Okay, it's a little bit more elaborate, but it's still the same kind of concept. Okay, so we've got these two people here that are planning on making wooden boxes to sell in their school. Okay, they want to know how many they will have to sell to break even. Okay, so how many they will have to sell to get to that point in which costs are identical to the sales. Okay, so where obviously kit sales are equal to the costs, so the revenue equals to the cost. Okay, sorry for repeating that 3 times. Now, information that we need to know: the fixed cost will always be £200. Their variable cost is £2 per box, and they are going to produce 40 boxes. Okay, so the selling price is £8, and what you've got to do is fill in this table here. Now, when you see this number here, okay, so whether it's profit or loss, if you see that it's in brackets, that is just basically another way of saying that it's negative. Okay, so if I was to say here that they make a loss of minus 200 in business, okay, in this kind of business, in these kind of problems here, you instead of writing minus 200, you basically just put it in brackets. Okay, so it's just another way of saying loss. Okay, so a negative number. Remember that the profit is something that is positive, because in profits we've got revenue that is bigger than costs, and remember that loss will always be negative, because in loss we've got a revenue that is smaller than costs. Now, if you're confused by this, you're gonna have to email me so that we can arrange a webinar and I can maybe go for it in more detail. I know that some of you are not finding this difficult, and I know that some of you are finding this quite challenging. Of course, that's absolutely normal in a classroom, so just let me know and I'm absolutely happy to go through these in more detail with you guys. Okay, so once you have completed this table below, you then need to explain how many boxes they will need to sell to break even. Okay, and you write that down in a little sentence here, and then when you've done that, you basically, this has to be a bit longer. Question number 3, you've got to answer in a bit more detail. So you are some business advisor, okay, that needs to kind of provide information to our two individuals, okay, and you have to recommend whether you think they should undertake this business plan or not, and explain whether you think it's convenient for them or they should just change strategy. Okay, so another actually thing I could ask you here, instead of saying just explain your answer, say what is the best strategy they undertake. Okay, so just kind of give me a bit of reflection here as to what you think their plan is, if you think it's a good plan or if you think it's not so convenient for them, and explain why it's not convenient for them and what they could do to make it even better, or whether you just think it's good the way that it is. Just give me a little bit of thought in this, okay? And so explain your answer. What is the best strategy they undertake? Basically, if you believe this is not such a good plan. Okay, perfect. That's pretty much it for me today. Yeah, email me if you've got any issues, and I'm going to basically try and make a webinar for whoever. It's small, in small groups as usual, and I'm going to basically just arrange these webinars in which we can go in detail with the questions, and you can ask me anything that is not clear. I know that you are kind of probably getting bored of this topic here, but I just want you to really understand it before we move on. So I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on these concepts here until you really understand them. Okay, so yeah, hope you have a lovely rest of today, and I will be in touch if you need me, as you know. Okay, so yeah, speak to you soon then, and bye bye.